Rising from the bottom. In life, a lot of times we have things that we want, right? And we see things go in a particular way. And when they don't go the way we planned, we fall off track. And we can be on the right track, we can be fighting a good fight and doing everything correct. But when life happens, when the unexpected happens, a lot of times those moments is what shows us what we're really about. When we're really tested, when we're put through the fire, when we're desperate, that's when we find out what we're made of. Are you willing to stand on certain principles when times get hard? Will you make the right choices? Can you push through the dark times, keeping your mind focused on the greater good when it seems like things aren't going to work out the way you wanted them to? It reminds me of an old story. Matter of fact, I'm going to share it with you. It's the legend of Sabata Brown. Who was Sabata Brown, you ask? Well, Sabata Brown was a boxer. He was a fighter. And he was on his way to doing some really big things. But just like I said, sometimes life happens and it throws you off track. So let me go ahead and get into it. The legend of Sabata Brown. I like to call it rising from the bottom because that's exactly what he had to do. Now, Sabata Brown, let me take you back to the beginning. Sabata Brown was a heavyweight fighter from the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia produced a whole lot of fighters, a lot of great fighters. Check the history. You can, anybody from, you got currently, well, not currently, but Bernard Hopkins, right? He's a great fighter. You have Joe Frazier, right? And go check the history of Philadelphia. It goes on and on and on. You got a really great fighter. What's his name? Rocky Balboa. I caught you there, didn't I? That's a myth. That's not a real fighter. But you can see the statue, though. That's a real statue. He's a made-up fighter, but he has a real statue. All the other guys, no statue. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about right now. Sabata Brown, heavyweight fighter. He putting in the grind. He was on his way. But he's pushing 30, right? He's about like 28 years old. So he's getting a little frustrated. He haven't had that big breakout fight yet. So he was like about 25, 28, something like that. But anyway, in boxing years, you feel like you're getting up there if you haven't had a title fight, that big title. He wanted to fight for the championship. He had no belts. So anyway, Sabata Brown was training one night. Well, one night he had a fight, right? He had a fight. And, 1 second. He's in his dressing room getting warmed up and everything like that, looking sharp, looking real sharp. He's doing all his, his shadow boxing and things like that. And his trainer, who was like a veteran in the boxing world, just an old man. And he's sitting back watching Sabata. Now, he didn't been, trained quite a few fighters, a whole lot of fighters, right? But Sabata, you can tell by the look in this man's eyes when he watched Sabata. You can tell that Sabata was his pride and joy. You can tell that he was banking on Sabata, right? So he's watching Sabata as Sabata's boxing. He's shadow boxing. And he's like, yeah, he's looking good. But you can also see that he was a little concerned, right? He's a little concerned while he's watching him. He can sense that maybe something didn't seem right with Sabata, But Sabata kept on going and everything like that. So He's gonna go over and say something to Sabata, but when he's about to say something to him, the door opened up in the dressing room, right? Because they're in that dressing room getting ready for their fight, right? And the man, sticks his head in and everything like that, and he's like, "Hey, let's go. Everybody ready? It's time." So at that point, Sabata's trainer, and his name was Mr. Ray, by the way. He was like, "Yeah, we're ready. We're good." And he go over to Sabata, and he's like, "You good? You good?" And Sabata's like, "Hell yeah, I'm ready. I'm born to do this." So anyway, so he put his robe on and everything like that. He put his, it's a black and gold robe, to match his, Sabata's shorts and his, his gloves and everything like that. And on the back, you can see his name printed on the back, his ring name, and it said the Bully, Sabata the Bully Brown. That was his name. So, they start going down. They going headed towards the ring, and as they're in the back, going down the hallway, making their way out, they can hear the crowd in the distance. They can hear that sound. It's really faint. Then they get to the end of the hallway. The security guards pull the curtain back. They walk into the venue, and they walk into this, this rowdy crowd. They're cheering and everything like that. Some people are even calling his name. Oh yeah, Sabata. So they knew who he was because he was fighting in his city too. So he's like a local hero. The local people, the local fans, they knew about Sabata. He just wasn't worldwide at this time, and that's what he wanted. So anyway, he get in the ring. He's focused. He get in the ring. He got his opponent across from him, and his opponent is a real big guy, looking swole. Anybody else would have been scared. Sabata didn't seem bothered by that. And as soon as that bell rung, and they started fighting, immediately you knew why he wasn't afraid. He made that guy look like nothing. He beat him down, boom, bop, knocked him out in the first round. The very first round. Crowd cheering, going crazy and everything. Referee holds Sabata's hand up. The winner, Sabata the Bully Brown. But when you look at Sabata, if you was to look at him closely, you could see he didn't look happy. He didn't look moved. He wasn't impressed with the win. He didn't look content at all. In fact, he looked disappointed. Who looks disappointed after a fight, right? Sabata Brown did that night. So anyway, he get back into his dressing room. After the fight, the lights going down and everything like that. They're back in their dressing room. And, his trainer is excited. His trainer is blown away. He's like, "Man, you really wiped him out. Man, you killed that man. What he said, because the fighter's name was, what's his name? Mighty Bruce or something like that. And he was like, "Mighty Bruce, man, you gave him a mighty ass whipping, and he's laughing, he's happy and everything like that." But Sabata's quiet the whole time. Sabata's just quiet. He's not saying anything. And he's like, his trainer, he look at him, he can tell something's wrong. So he's like, "All right, what is it now? What's going on? How you feeling?" And Sabata at that point, he want to keep quiet, but he can't hold it in no more. So he says, "I feel like I'm starving. That's how I feel." So at that point, because his trainer was taking the hand wraps off him and everything like that after the fight. So he stopped and looked at him and was like, "Okay, you gonna start this now? You gonna start this?" And Sabata's like, "What?" And he's like, the trainer's like, "How many times did I tell you? How many times do I gotta tell you?" He's like, "How many times I gotta tell you, you gotta be patient." And Sabata's like, "Man, you've been telling me this for I don't know how long. We've been training for how long? They've been training for maybe like since Sabata was a teenager or something like that, 16 or something like that. And meanwhile, here he is, mid-20s, pushing 30, whatever. He's ready for the big time. And the trainer's like, "God, how many times do I tell you? We can't just take any deal that comes to us. You gotta be patient. You gotta be patient." Sabata looking like, "Man, I ain't trying to hear that, man. This patient stuff." And he's like, the trainer says, "Look, man, you gotta listen to me. You have to trust me. It's coming. You just make sure you're ready when it gets here." And Sabata's like, "All right, I will be." And the trainer's like, all right, then, sounds good. And then the trainer walks out, leaves him, let him finish wrapping his hands. They, they kind of, had a little moment. It goes like that in sports. You're a team, but you have your moments. And that was with them. They had their moment where there was a little, trainer don't understand. You just had a good fight. You were almost there because he could see the progress. He can see. He's an old man, an elder. He'd been there before. But Sabata is getting impatient. So he, walks out the room, lets Sabata sit there by himself to think about what he said. And Sabata sit there looking, and he wants to believe him. He wants to trust him. But at the same time, just like we all realize, somebody can coach us all they want. But at the end of the day, it's our lives. We have to know what's best for us.